Hey guys, you're back with Juzzy. And look, it's not my bike, but it's a brand new 2023 Honda Rebel CMX 500. It is not a special edition, but it is a 2023. And you might be wondering where my bike is. Well, yesterday I took my bike in for its first service. It had 730 kilometers on it, and I'd owned it for around about 3 months. I took the bike back to Team Moto at Slacks Creek in Brisbane, Australia, and they gave me a red brand new 2023 normal edition, so standard 500, and yeah, it was a brand new bike. It had 11 kilometers on it when I picked it up. I rode it home, I took it back, I had the first service done, everything was perfect, I checked over it, everything was great. Service was excellent, and yeah, very thankful for the loaner bike. And I was speaking to a couple of the guys there about how I wanted to do some further mods to my bike. In fact, some of the last ones that I needed to do, and that was to put the wheel covers on, front and rear, the short fender, and I was also very interested in changing the front shock oil from the standard 10 weight oil to 15. So they gave me a price, and I talked through how I didn't want to really tackle this myself. As you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, I've been putting it off and off. And finally, I decided to just take it in for a shop to do it. So basically, I've just dropped it off the next day, and the guys said, look, we've got another Rebel for you. I picked it up with 3 kilometers. So basically it was exactly like what mine was. 3 kilometers, brand new. They'd assembled it, taken it for a test ride, make sure it all was fine. And then, yeah, it was basically on the lot. So it was out the back, and they basically gave me this one to ride home. So yeah, I've just basically ridden it home. It's got, 3 kilometers when I picked it up, and it's 100% standard. But yeah, it's got the bronze wheels on it, and otherwise, other than that, everything else looks exactly the same. Got the rectifier underneath the bike, just like mine does for the 22, which it's not located at under the seat, which it was for previous models. But yeah, so basically, I think I've had about, 4 Rebels at my home, and I just keep getting new ones. But it's not mine. I will be returning it maybe this afternoon, if not tomorrow. But yeah, they've started work on my bike straight away. So yeah, as I said, they needed to undo the front wheels, take off the short fender, and the front wheel's very easy, I guess. Well, basically they had to remove all of this bolt assembly here, so that the disc can come off, and that they could put the front wheel covers on. The wheel covers have kind of like a cylindrical spacer that goes inside, and then you put a bolt either side with Loctite. There's 5 bolts on the type of wheel cover I've bought, and then they need to put the wheel on the balancing machine. So the thing is that if I was to do this wheel cover and store at home, then it's probably about 7 kilometers away is the nearest tyre shop that I can go to that would do a bike tyre install, and that would have the tyres that I want on hand. So yeah, I decided not to do that, get it done at a shop. They've got the balancing equipment there at Honda. So I'm actually getting the job done at an authorized Honda service outlet. And yeah, the guys were fairly impressed, I guess, with the mods that I'd done on the bike. And yeah, so they'll do the front, the rear they're going to, and this was the one that I was really not confident about doing. Having the bike up on the stands, worrying about the ABS sensor on the right side, and just basically undoing the wheel and taking off all of this assembly so that I can get the wheel covers in around the discs. And yeah, I just thought I weighed it up, and for the amount that they're going to charge, as well as not having to worry about whether it's 100% done right because I'm not a qualified mechanic, I think this is a job that, for these reasons, I've justified paying a professional to get it done. So that's getting done today. Hopefully I get to pick it up, and I'll resume this video once I'm home, hopefully with the new mods installed. Basically, the bike wasn't completed when I dropped it off on Saturday morning, and they needed an extra day, but unfortunately they closed on Sunday. So here we've got the Rebel 2022 Special Edition. It's now got the mod that I've always wanted to install, which is the front and rear wheel covers. The wheel covers have completely blacked out the bike, and as you can see, I've got black hardware instead of silver to actually bolt in the 5 bolts around the wheel. So I'll show you a closer look of just what that looks like. As you can see, there's an access port to get to the tyre valve. There's one on the rear as well. So there's the black hardware I've got, and it just makes the bike look so much more sinister. I've also had Team Moto install the Diablo short front fender onto the bike, and that means that the bracket and the twice as long front fender is gone. As well as that, the reflectors that were situated here, which were mounted to the factory bracket, because that bracket's no longer there anymore, I've relocated the reflector to be on the side of the front engine cover. The reflector is slightly lower than where it was in the factory position, but it's still quite noticeable when you look at it from the side of the bike. To go along with this, I wanted to change the front suspension because the front was so incredibly soft, particularly after changing the front handlebar setup to have these lower clamps, which I purchased to go along with this V-Rod style headlight. And so because there was more weight transferred to the front, what was happening is as I would brake, or particularly when I go to a stop, the bike was just so, it was feeling so front heavy because it was a soft suspension setup from the start. So I did some research and found out that the front suspension has 10 weight oil, and it has just shy of 500 mils of oil in each shock tube. So I bought 1 litre of Penrite 15 weight shock oil, and it was probably about $30 or $40, and I got the guys to completely drain all the 10 weight oil that was in there, put the 15 weight oil on, and the difference is amazing. So I'm just giving it full push force down at the moment, and it is only just slightly moving, whereas before it would jump up and down like a pogo stick. It was crazy. So this means that all of the front sloppy suspension feeling is gone, and I was actually looking at putting in the YSS front spring set, and I'm actually glad that I didn't, because it was such a cheap fix to fix the front suspension on the bike, and I'm glad I did my research and found a number of guys that had recommended that, and I went along with it. Because I've only just got the bike back, I'm going to have to look at actually changing the rear suspension again, because the front is slightly different. So I'll fine tune that in over the next couple of days. Just recently I'd actually installed, as you saw in my videos, the K-Speed Diablo V-Rod front headlight setup, and that actually came with a bracket which relocated the cluster if you rewired the wiring, and I had it coming and joined down to this bolt. What I've actually done is I've found that in a couple of days I was riding that it was simply too low, and I found it a little bit annoying to actually second guess the exact gear and things, just simple things like if the indicator was turned off after turning. So what I've done is I've moved it to here, and I've put a spacer on the outside, so that allows me to tilt this forward and back as much as I like. But I've got it in a location now that when I sit on the bike with my helmet on, I can actually just see it in the lower left corner. So as you'll see here, it's just right there, whereas previously it was just out of view, and it was actually probably around about there. So yeah, that means that I get to keep the quad lock in the middle, which is what I prefer to have. And yeah, as you can see, I've got the headlight set up just perfect, pointing just slightly lower than headlight height. And as you can see to the left there, the height of the light sort of lining up with my Evo, it's not going to interfere with a driver's view, particularly a lowered car. I've always wanted to get the suspension done on the bike, but given that I was worried about what would happen if I installed it, the wheel covers, if it was going to actually have any issues with balancing, given that the nearest shop to me is about 7 kilometers away. And yeah, the feedback from Kyle, who installed it at Team Moto, was that there was no actual issue with it. So it seems like I could have done it myself, but in actual fact, I'm just glad that I probably left that part to be installed by a professional. So I'm loving the look now that I've got the reflectors relocated, the mirrors, drag bar, the headlight, the wheel covers. It really has all tied together. So I don't actually have any further parts in my box at home to install on the bike. For a while there, I was actually looking at seeing if I could keep the cluster in the lower position, sort of tucked out of the way. And I was even going to sort of put it more closer in here, and then use an OBD2 app on my phone, and just use the phone as a screen. I may still do that in the future. I've got Talk Pro for when I use my Evo, and I just may still do that with the bike, given that I can see revs and pretty much everything I need to, but I need to do some more research into it before I go ahead. Alright guys, so I will be posting some photos and videos in the coming days now that I've got the bike exactly the way that I like it. And I just wanted to say a shout out to everyone who's followed and subscribed to me on Instagram and YouTube, and just really asked some questions because they weren't really sure about modding the bike, which is exactly how I was about 3 months ago. I think I've reached my ideal modification sort of target for the bike. I haven't mucked around with anything on the engine or the cooling. I've simply just done aesthetic suspension, the light. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this build so far. That's pretty much all I can think of for now. But now I think I'm just going to enjoy it. It is the Christmas season and it's less than a week until Christmas hits. So from me to you and your family, I hope you've enjoyed these videos. Please reach out to me if you've got any ideas on what you'd like to see, but I think for now I've pretty much got everything the way that I want it. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.